and gentlemen, we are going through another presentation on Epsilon Software Solution. I will start by showing you the various modules of Epsilon Software Solution. Today, we're going to limit ourselves to hospitality business. We have so many modules that we have: order management, financial management, inventory. This user management is for every module. Hospitality business, which is what concerns us today. Then we also have mechanized farming society. We have a PhD food processing, that's specifically for production. We have lease finance, poultry management. General maintenance is all the modules. This one is applicable to all the modules. Then we have commerce, then we have association module. But today we're going to limit ourselves to hospitality business solution. So under hospitality business solution, we have inquiry, we have cancellation, we have modification. I will try to explain each one of them. We might not have to go into the full detail today, but for specific ones that are going to go to full detail, you understand what they are all about. We have system parameters, we have lodging process, maintenances. Those are the very beginning, where we define all the various tools that we're going to be using under the application. Batch processing, that is where we're able to take external files into the system. Then we have local purchase order. Local purchase order is part of the tools required by hospitality business. Then we have kitchen and restaurants, part of it. Modifications, then general inquiries, sales, stock, and expense processing. So on inquiry, this is assuming that we have a lot of data in the system. So the various inquiry available is to check details of guests for a period of time. We have customer details, view only. We just want to view the detail of customer that we have in our system. We have latest accounting entry. That is a daily affair. For every transaction done during the day, it's available for you to view. But at the close of business, they are moved to history. We have latest accounting entries. That's what I'll just explain now. Guests due to check out today. That's an inquiry, view of an inquiry on how many guests are supposed to due to check out today. Meaning that from the time of check-in, they've given us their checkout date. So for everybody that have that day as the checkout, we will display them so that we'll know how to ask them whether they are still renewing their occupation or they want to check out. Then we have a list of occupied rooms as of today. These are all the rooms that we have guests presently lodging. We have free available rooms, the rooms that are not yet occupied by any guest. Then we have lodging customers for today, the details of the customers that are presently in the rooms and the rooms number they are in. These are the various forms of inquiry that actually comes with the system. In any case, since this is what our client will be using, the other kind of online inquiry required will be customized after implementation. Now, we have payment mode inquiry. This one has to do with various forms of payments that take place in the hotel. All the various means of paying, the reports are here. Either when you are paying for your lodging, or you are paying for restaurant service, or you are paying for kitchen service, all of them are under this inquiry. Then we have cancellation. This cancellation submodule is only used to cancel only two things that come shipped with the application: advance booking and customer that have checked in. We want to assume that when somebody make an advance booking with us and he doesn't want to go ahead before the date, then we can cancel the advance booking. Naturally, if you don't cancel the advance booking, the system will allocate whatever rooms, and the room will stay occupied for the period that we have stated in the advance booking. So in order to prevent this, we create room for you to cancel such so that you free the rooms for another customer. The check-in cancellation that we have is simply because it is possible for a customer to come in and for whatever reason, that same day, without spending 1 or 2 hours, he wants to cancel the check-in because he doesn't want to continue anymore. That is what this check-in is meant for. We cannot cancel check-in if you have already passed one night. The only thing you can do is to check you out. But the cancellation of check-in that the customer has not made of anything is for us to allow the room to make the room available for another client where the customer might not have to pay anything. It all depends on the policy of the institution. If the hotel believes that somebody has to pay a certain amount of money because of the occupation, because there is possibility they must have used any of our tools that will be there, the complementary items that will put there, then we can charge a certain amount and then cancel and refund the money. Now, there is modifications of module here. This is used after the maintenances. This modification is only used after the maintenance. What we do with this modification is to modify anything we have defined here, which we feel that we need to change. For example, looking at these maintenances, where we define bar, all the various bars that are available in the hotel are defined here. The product that we might be rendering, service product. And as a service product, the product we render to our clients, our guests, either they are lodging or working customer. We define all of them here. Attributes of those products include the price. The price changes, they'll come back to modification to modify the product and effect the new price. Yeah. That is what the modification. So let's look at what we have under modification. Presently, we can modify guest details, we can modify hotel, we can modify room, we can modify wing, we can modify product. Again, when I say guest details, this is not for fraudulent purposes. This is where there are genuine mistakes, maybe in the names or the address and the number of the customer that we check in. And we want to correct because as observed by the customer that those information are not intact. We can come here and modify. Check out. One good thing about this, after someone has checked out our system, nobody can modify the guest details. So if you click on guest details modification, it will tell you that this can only be done. And you can see, note that this modification is only applicable to presently lodging guests and does not include already checked out customer. Now, I'll close that. I don't want to go into specific details for now. We'll go that in subsequent presentation. So hotel, this is where we have detail about the hotel. We can do modification of any of the details for whatever reason. For example, there are certain parameters or policy of the hotel that are set up at the definition of the hotel, which might change from time to time. So in order to allow you to effect that change, that's why we create a modification module to make such changes. Like I said, the next time we go into details of each of these module or data entry module, you will know what we mean by allowing modification. Now, the next thing is room. That is definition of our rooms can be modified at this place. Most important part of this modification is if the room rate has to change. Either the changes is going to be increase in the rate or decrease in the rate. This is where we made the change. One good thing about the system is that any change whatsoever that have been done are tracked. When I say tracked, I mean that the old record is never discarded. It's in the system. The only thing is that it becomes the old version. Why system start using the new version? Right from the effective date that we indicate. Now, the next thing is wing. There are some hotel where wings are also necessary for rooms. Room number might be similar, but there might be a different wing. For this kind of hotel, all the various wings that have been defined can also be modified in this place. For example, a room number is in one wing and it has to change to another wing. This is where we made that change. Then product. Product is all we call the service product under our maintenances. What we mean by that, we mean every item that we serve our customer. Every time that we sell, let's do the simple language, we sell, like our drinks, our foods, and so on and so forth. This is where we modify them once there's change in those items. Things that we can change about those items are things like what is the latest price? Price fluctuates. Prices of items are never constant. So it means that at any point in time, if there is a change in price, we'll come to this place to modify the product and effect the new price and the effective date. Like I said earlier, all changes that we are doing under this modification, they are tracked, they are never discarded or thrown away. The only thing that happens is that system keep that old version and create a new version, and that new version is what will be used from the effective date. That's what we do under modification. Now, move away from modification, and let's go to the next items here that talks about systems parameter. Now, here, there are certain things that we define here, they're not limited to what we have here, but presently these are what we have that will come, chipped with the systems when it goes live. We're going to have various expenses that will occur in the hotel. We define those expense codes here with so many other parameters. We'll know what they are by the time we go into details of the data entry. Some of those expenses are things like complementary items, tissue paper, toilet soap, and all those other items that we purchase to make life easy for our clients. For example, the electricity bill is an expense. All those codes will be defined here and we enter the data from expense management, which we're going to go into later. But there we define those parameters, separate those expense items from one another by giving them different codes. Group codes. Mostly we use this to assist us in many things, like recognizing our income, recognizing our line expenses. Every expense code belongs to a group, which means we can group them together and give them a name. And the same thing, this also assists us in creating accounting entries or creating a general ledger where we can identify and recognize the items. For example, we can specifically say all income realizable from lodging. Lodging, I mean lodging alone, without including products, other products, can be given a code such that when we pay for lodging, the amount under lodging will only go into that line items. So we know all the income from there, the income only from lodging. And we can say all income from drinks. We can even split drinks down into alcoholic, non-alcoholic drinks, and so on and so forth. That is what this group code is meant for. We define the group code, we give the code a name, and then give the product that falls under this grouping. Those are things we'll see if you open the data entry field or data entry form for group code, general ledger. This is where we define our accounting, what we call enterprise account. We can define all the various accounting for our liability, for our asset, for income, for expense, contingent liability, and so on and so forth. We've created the template. Each organization, each client will decide how he wants accounting represented and will define it here. And all those things will determine which account entries will go into when we do our transaction. Because accounting entries are going to be generated so that we can manage our transaction on line items accounting. We can also see our income on a daily basis by netting off whatever expenses we have incurred up to a particular date and taking it off from all the income we have realized for that particular date as well. Remember, there's going to be accounting entry period, either monthly, yearly, and so on and so forth. Those are the parameters that the client would define by themselves. Global administration. This is something that encompasses all the modules here. There are many parameters that will guide the operations. Specifically, under this module, we may set a standard that for this from this enterprise, I mean this hotel, for example, we want to say that the policy of archiving, when I say archiving, data that we can access in our system at any point in time should be data of like 1 year or data of like 2 years. All other old data should be archived and can be accessed offline. What do we mean by this? We need to set up under Global Administration the data retention month. What we have defined is in months, so that if we want to do it in months, it's allowed. They want to do it in year, you just put the number of months involved, and so on and so forth. There are so many other ones, but I would like to give further details when we open the data entry form. Supply maintenance, we use this to keep track of people that do business with us, people that supply us most of the items that we serve our customer. These are for the purpose of monitoring what kind of business we're doing with them, for the purpose of knowing where they are, having their contact. At any point in time, if we need them, we just go to the system, retrieve information, and then use it to reach out to them. The next one is system calendar. This is very simple and straightforward. Normally, this will be used only once or twice because we're going to set up the calendar that the system will follow from day to day. For example, looking at my screen now, this is the date of the system. That's the last working day or the present working day in the system. Whereas today in my normal calendar is 22nd June. So it means at close of business, if the 2nd June is a working day, the system date will move from 21st to 22nd. If it's not a working day, it will move from 21st to the next working day in the calendar. This is straightforward. If done once, we have only working day and not working day on the calendar, and whole hospitality business, I think every day are working day. So it's very simple. You may not need to visit all the time. We only set it up once or twice because we set it up ahead. Now, sales outlet. This is where we define if there are branches of our hotel that we still want all the record in the system. So we define all the various branches of the hotel that we have, and then we use this to manage their data. So we can see position of each of the branches separately, because each one of them will be posted into its branch code, and then everything that goes to the branch code can be viewed and can also view them globally for all the branches. The sale code. This one is also common to all the modules, not just hospitality business, because it is a measure of the unit of sale, unit of purchase. What we're saying there is that if items, that's a product now, is something that can be sold in unit, we define unit for a code, and we say unit contain only one. It's something that we can sell in packet, we define packet as a sales code, and we also try to recognize how many units make a packet. These are very convenient for us so that we can vary our products, but then depending on how it is being sold or how we deal with them, either buying or selling, whichever, at least just a unit of sale or unit of purchase. Now, this is all we have under system parameter. Then I'll come back to maintenance system before I go to lodging process. I'll jump this lodging process and go to maintenance. This is the first definition. This is where we do the first definition of bar. If you have any bar, you can define as many bars as possible using this module. What you have there is only the bar, the hotel code, hotel name, the bar code, the bar name. And once you have done that, then it is available for you to call up whether you are making distribution between the store and the bar, whether you are trying to make a sale, you indicate the bar through which the sales is being recorded. Now, the next one is service product. Like I mentioned earlier, for those products that you want to be serving our customer, they are all defined here with all the various attributes. In order to save time so that in the next presentation, we can go into specific. I will not want to open this. The same thing, room status. These are all the various statuses that our room can assume. In terms of rooms can be an available room, room can be an occupied room, it can be a room under construction or other maintenance, and so on and so forth. So we define all the various statuses available so that if you want to set status of your room, you can easily choose one of the options to set the status. Meanwhile, remember that statuses are set automatically between login and checkout and so on. Therefore, whatever reason, if the room is not going to be occupied because the maintenance that has to be done there, we need to set up that status. We need to set the room to that status because system cannot do that automatically, because if you have not indicated the system that there is something in that room that needs to be repaired, the system will not know. So we need to set the status once we are doing repair or maintenances in that room. The next one is definition. This is where we define all the various rooms we have in our hotel, rooms and the attributes. Wing, the various wings we have in our hotel. Remember, in wing definition, you need to also include which room falls under that wing. That's why I said you can go back and modify wing, where you can change the room that are there by removing or by adding, so on and so forth. Then the next thing is identity mode, various mode of identification that we accept in our hotel. That's what we do here. Hotel master. This is specifically for hostel. It's like the global administration dimension before, which is for all the modules. This one is specifically for hotel. In our hotel, what are the various policies? We define the policy under hotel master data. So the system will make use of those policies. Like, for example, that data retention I mentioned is set up also at hotel master, where you can say we want, okay, don't let me go into those details because there's so many things that I'm set up here, but let me wait until when we open the data entry field or data entry form. Then we'll see what are those applicable items or data items that can be set up under hotel master data. Now, the next one here is batch processing. Batch processing is that module where we do one-time upload of external data. External data in the sense that we are not going to go into the system and be enter data one after the other. Instead, an external files, which I call flat files here. It can be a CSV file, it can be an Excel file, are loaded into a particular location in the system that will be given to us. And from that place, we'll call it up from the application here to load items inside that file. After the loading, you see what happened by coming to process loaded files. If everything is loaded perfectly in the system, when you process loaded files, it will give you a result. Either all items are loaded successfully, or all items failed, or some are loaded, some failed. But for each item that are successful, you see successful status. For those that are failed, you see error. And for those that are failed, the error will explain what kind of error that happens while they are not loaded. One good thing about this batch processing module is that you can load the file as many times as possible. Only unsuccessful items will be picked up on the second attempt to upload. But remember, if you have not done the correction, if you upload 10 times, they will fail 10 times. Then there is hard work report that you can generate to see the outcome of your upload or outcome of your batch process. Now that another thing here is local purchase order. This is where we make a record of what do we order for from our supplier. What do we order for from our supplier? So we call it LPO, where we order for supplier to give us some of the items that will serve our clients. So this has been done in such a way that there are two processes involved. You raise the order and somebody else authorizes the order. Because before you can talk about raising the order and authorizing the order, you assume that the present stock is going below the threshold. That threshold is for every product. When you take stock of every product, you set the threshold that system will be looking at to tell you or remind you that you need to take a fresh order before you exhaust the product. So what I'm saying here is that our local purchase order is dependent on what is happening or what we set up during stock management. Stock management will tell you for this stock that I've taken, this is the threshold. When the volume is reducing up to this threshold, prompt the user that you need to call for a fresh order. And when you are calling for a fresh order, two steps are involved. The order has to be raised by an officer. You have to be authorized by a manager. So that's what we have under local purchase order. Then kitchen and restaurant. Kitchen and restaurant service contains 3 sub-modules: modification, inquiries, sale, stock, and expense processing. Now let's start from modification. Under modification, the only items available for now is bar supply. This is where a bar supply made is wrong, and we need to correct it. In any case, we limit what can be modified here because it's going to vary from one institution to the other, one hotel to the other. Because by the time you allow various modification, it can bring about fraudulent practices. So for our purpose, we're saying where there are genuine error, what are the supply, and the person that's going to accept has observed it, then the person that supply, most especially the storekeeper, will come back here and amend appropriately. So that is why there are always 2 items, and there are only 2 people involved when it comes to supply of items from store to bar. The bartender will accept, the storekeeper will supply. So it means that both of them have to agree on what are the supplied. If you say you supply me 2 crates of, say, malt, for example, and I found out that what I have is not up to 2 crates, I will not accept in the system. That's what will make you to come back and modify what you have supplied before I will accept it. So definitely only one person cannot come and do modification except the request for modification comes from the person that is accepting the items, that there's a fault in what you have sent to me and what you have in the system. So that is what we have for now. But depending on how flexible any hotel is, we can add more of those things that can modify it. But for now, we did it because there may be genuine mistakes which need to be corrected. Now, the next one is inquiry. Under inquiries, these are most of those items that the storekeeper and the bar attendant or store manager or the bar manager use on a daily basis to cross-check their sales against their supply. So we have given only 4 items there. History, so accounting history. If there's a problem with the storekeeper, you can always go back to this inquiry and check what has happened within the period that is having doubt. What are we saying here is that if for any reason you have a problem with your stock, you have a problem with management of your stock, then you come back and see what has happened in the previous days so that you can be sure that everything is in order. This one will show you what you have supplied. Okay, let me just try and open this. Oh, this one will take, don't let me go into it because I will need to enter detail so as to save time. What we're saying is that this one will just show history. You have seen it from one to so date. It will show you what you open with, what you close with, the sale that you make, and so on. That is for bar. Therefore, store, the only thing that will come to store is that what did you get from supplier, what did you distribute to your bar, and those things will be able to manage it by going through them. You know what and what is wrong. You'll be using it for reconciliation. That is what I'm looking for. The same thing goes for bar accounting history. For all a period of time, you can check what has transpired between your store and your sales. What have you received from the store? And what have been the sales on a daily basis? And you see what you open with, what you close with. You can always use that to check your manual booking or manual accounting that you are doing. The same thing goes to this. This is on a daily basis. This one is very easy. You do it on a very daily basis, and you do have issue, you may not need to go back to historical, because every day when you close, system will be able to compute for you what you open with, what you close with, in between the sales that you have made. So that is what daily store and daily bar does. This one is just between the storekeeper and the supplier, and then the storekeeper and the bar manager. Then in the daily bar account is in between the store officer and the bar manager, and then between the bar manager and the customer. So what we'll be saying is, what are the sales made against what are the supply received? Then you'll be seeing what you open, the sales made, and then when you close with. On a daily basis, you don't need to do your manual calculation, but system will give it to you. All you need to do in the system is which one is not correct so that you know where you go wrong. But if everything is fine, you don't need to do manual balancing. System is doing the balancing for you. That is only 4 items we have under that inquiry for kitchen and bar. Now let's look at these items under kitchen and restaurant called sales, stocks, and expense processing. Now, like I mentioned before, where I said we define expense code. Every expense made in the hotel, we use this expense management to capture the items. Expense management to capture the items. Here, what we do is that for every items like a bills, water bills, electricity bills, sanitation bills, that's bill from our cleaner, they are all expenses that will eventually be taken out of our income before we know what our profit is. We register all of them under expense management. Remember, various expense codes will have been given to them. Remember also, groups will have been given to them. So at any point in time, if you want to say, what are the expenses made on infrastructure, on our infrastructure, on our facility? Because things like electricity bill is not per room, neither is it per wing, it is for the entire hotel. And likewise, what do you call it? Likewise, the water bill is also generally, so those bills we're going to be getting nil off from the income generally, wherever the income is coming from. So we must have defined them from the definition of the maintenance submodule, and then we come here to record the expense. Now, production, if there's anything we produce, any item that we produce locally in the hotel, we register the production from here. Then this one, for any reason, any sales made during the day, and we found out that there is a reason to reverse it, we do the reversal from here. Note that you can only reverse daily transaction. Anything that has been closed, you cannot reverse it. So it means the reversal is only on a daily basis. If anything happens during the day, you have to reverse it. That is for, there's one other one there, product exchange between bars. So I jumped. That one will have only one option there, where you give to other bar. So if for any reason one of the bar is short of an item, and then the item is available in another bar, and the customer is waiting there, you don't need to refer the customer to another bar, because the customer may not want to see somewhere else another bar. So what you need to do is just request the other bar, and the bar will transfer that item to you, both physically and then the system. So it shows that during the day, apart from what you receive from the store, somebody else and in another bar is supplying an item. So system will do reconciliation of that items automatically, reducing the bar quantity from the given bar and increase the bar quantity from the receiving bar. Then you're able to sell the items at that bar. That is what I mean a product exchange between bars. Now I've explained expense management, I've explained production, I've explained daily sale reversal. So let's look at what we have under stock. Under stock, we only do here is store inventory, bar acceptance, and bar supply. It means that when a storekeeper receives item from the supplier, then he records the receipt from store inventory forms. The same thing applies to bar, and also the same store officer, when he supplies the bar, he uses this form, bar supply, to record the item in the system. And then for this action or transaction to complete, the bar has to accept, bar acceptance, using bar acceptance to accept what you have said. So in any case, what we're saying here is that both storekeeper and the bar manager are going to have handshake any point in time before we can say the transaction of moving item from store to bar is completed. One will give, the other one will have to accept. So this is to have a balance that you are not claiming you gave me this, whereas I did not receive that. Before you can successfully give to a bar manager, he must accept in the system. So and most of the time, he looks at the quantity. He looks at the quantity. What you say you supply me physically, confirm it, and then confirm the same in the system. That is what we have under stock. Then on sales, it's simple. We only have bar multiple sales and bar sales. They are the same thing. The only difference is that in bar multiple sales, which is the fashionable one that most of these hotel asks for, is where in just a single form, you can enter multiple items of sales, just seeing all of them and then save. So the other option of bar sales is just a single items. We can have multiple items as well here, but you need one item has to be taken away to another page before going to the second item. Instead of using pages, then it's better to have all of them in one page. So that's why bar multiple sales will be the only favorable solution we're going to give on that sales. So here you can make bar multiple sales is applicable to a working customer that's not lodging with us. It's also applicable to customer that's lodging with us. If he wants to come to the bar to make his purchase, you can sit down, you can enter ATM. The only difference between this and what I call, okay, we're not there. There's something we call room service, where you need to supply those items to the customer in the room. So this one is only when your customer is sitting down with you, or the customer is a working customer from outside. You can use this to record all the sales made. Now, having done this, these are all the high-level overview of the volumes, high-level overview of the provisions that we have under hotel management. You can see them here: inquiry, cancel, modification, system parameter, lodging process, maintenances, batch process, local purchase order, kitchen and restaurant, modification, inquiries, sales, stock, and expense processing. Now, I would like to go specific now into lodging process, where we can see samples of what is applicable. The first items here, the first item is advanced booking. Advanced booking has automatically the branch where I'm working is automatically displayed. I cannot change it. Now here I have H code representing the hotel code. Which hotel is this? Then I can select the hotel code from all the available hotels that have been defined under maintenances. I will still go back to that. Let me just show this. I'll go back to maintenances so that we'll start from there. So here, at the end of the field, we always have a clue on what to do. If there are a list of items available, we have Ctrl+L to give us the list of codes available. So these are the various hotel codes that will define our system. I'm going to make use of one of them. Then you use tab or you just click on the next field, asking us for the booker. Who is making this advanced booking? Let's just enter any name as one making the advanced booking. How many rooms is he calling for us to reserve for him? There are some bookings as well can be called room reservation, advanced booking or room reservation. So we want us to reserve 2 rooms. What is the email address person asking for this request? Let's say the name address is now. What is his phone number? How much is it depositing for this booking? Let's say it's depositing the 25,000. In any case, like for advanced booking, it depends on the policy of the hotel. Since it paid exactly the amount to cover that room, you can say, okay, you can deposit a certain amount of money for that room. The policy is universal. So in any case, we have made it possible for you to, whichever option you want. The only thing is whatever customer has deposited, what to pay. Then there is a column called penalty rate. This penalty rate means that if at the end of the day, you are not going to honor this booking, for us to refund whatever you have deposited, we have to take certain amount as penalty. We call it no-show penalty. So it can be in terms of rate, it can be in terms of amount. Once I enter a rate in this field that you are seeing now, where the cursor is blinking, then it should show me the amount equivalent to that percentage. But if I come to the amount field and I enter the amount, it will show me the penal rate, what it is. So each of the options can be used, but both cannot be used together because one will give the equivalent of the other. If I say, okay, our penal rate in this hotel is 10%, system will calculate 2,500 and I cannot do anything here. I cannot enter this field anymore. 10% of 25,000 is 2,500. In this case, the next thing is, what are the details? That is, we're reserving rooms. You're able to enter the detail of the room we are reserving, so that system will know those dates against those rooms. That rooms will not be available on the morning of the day of the booking. At the same time, you cannot book that room on the range of dates that you have indicated for advanced booking here. So that's why you have to enter the details. The booking details start from here, from which date to which date, from 22nd June 2022 to say 23rd June 2022. Room number, all the rooms that are available for that day will come up from this hotel, MCHN 001. Price or the rate of that room comes up. Are you giving any rate, discount? If you're giving any discount rate, will enter in this field. Assistant will be able to compute the amount that is due for that room. So if they're not giving any discount, just tap or put, the amount is the same. Is there any caution fee for this room? If there's caution fee, you enter it here, because that's part of the money customer has to pay before checking into that room, if what is deposited is not enough to cover it. Now, the next one, because we are saying it's going to take 2 rooms. Let's say that one is from 23rd June to say 24th June 2022. Then we look for the rooms that you can pick. Now, from this one, any discount rate, we say no, we just tap, the system will compute how much, 7,000. Then if the caution fee, we enter the caution fee. So the 2 rooms is complete. What you need to know is, how is he paying? You want to capture the details of the payment. So you just click on these payment details. That will take us to where we're going to effect the payment. Now here, we only express how the customer has paid. So we have mode of payment, pay mode. All the pay mode that have been defined in the system comes up here. Direct transfer, bank transfer, mobile transfer, point of sale terminal, bank transfer. As me is paying out through PS, then which bank POS are we giving for him to pay? All the banks that will come up here are the banks that have been defined for the hotel under hotel master definition. Go there. Under hotel master definition. These are all the banks that the hotel has, and the hotel might have POS for all the banks, or might have POS only for sample of the banks. So in any case, these are the banks that I will choose which bank POS we are given to the customer to pay from, and then we select it. Let's say it's Main Street. This is the account number of that bank. I mean, of the account number of that hotel in that bank called Main Street, which has been defined under hotel master data. Hotel master data. So how much is he paying from this POS? Okay, let's assume he's paying for the total amount of 14,000. He can pay partially POS with certain amount, and then we go to the next record. So in this case, I want to assume he paid only once with one POS. The purpose of having multiple pay here is that if it's going to be different form of payment, at the end of the day, the system is going to compute the total amount. It must tally with the amount as deposited to show that the money we collected from exactly how he paid it. Because what we're expressing here is how did he pay that money. As I put 14,000 here now, it means he has not paid the entire money. So 25,000 what you said he paid as deposit. Okay, don't mind that one. That's one of those that I wish to test. Go to tell information away. So here, let's assume he's paying the remaining amount in cash, 25,000. So for cash purposes, that is piggy bank for cash, because that cash will be with the person that's on the front desk. Now, 25,000, 14,000 have been paid. What is remaining? Let's say he's paying the remaining 11,000 through cash. So this total I've now paid is now 25,000. So we can say save all here. Okay, these are one of those who used to do tests. Leave that messages. No, for who appear again. This what you normally need is the advanced room reservation booking completed with code. This room reservation is successful. Again, advanced booking for this because it's checking each of those records, because there are 2 of them. That's why I get this message twice. They can always do this to once. Good. And that's all. So with this, we've been able to complete advanced. Okay. Now, I would like to go back to those maintenances, if time permits me, and try to see if we can finish some of those maintenances so that in the next presentation, we can come back to specific services. So let's go to maintenances. Now, in maintenances, we have bad definition. Here is simple. You just mention the hotel code, assuming the hotel master has been done, because it means hotel masters be done first before you can come here. Every definition are dependent on one another. So we need to know the dependency. I will show that later, which one comes before the other. Now, what is the room code? 101. Sorry, the bar code. Barcode. We're doing by definition, I'm not sure. Barcode. Let me just put B10 bar. At least the code is user defined, whatever you like use, and then give the room to it. Let's say this is the general bar. General bar. Okay. All we do is just save. There's not that thing more than that. So I mean, in this hotel that I've just using now, there's a bar called general bar. Now, we're going to put an end to our presentation here. The other aspect of Epsilon Software Solution Hospitality Business will continue in our next presentation. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.